Welcome everyone back to Valadar Mods CK3. This is pretty exciting. Some of you may know Kaiser Harm. He is a staple in the CK3 modding community and has basically taught me how to use custom textures on models. And this is something I haven't known how to do before, and it opens up a lot of opportunities. And I say custom, so what I mean, this is not creating your own unique textures, something you would do in an application called Substance Painter, which is expensive. And it's really, I think, a natural progression as you become a better 3D modeler. It's not even something I do. This is the first step for me, I think, is, well, really the second step. I have another video out there, which I need to remake, but that video shows how to reuse models that are already in the game and to texture with what are called the atlases that come with the base game. And that's generally the Western, the Mediterranean, the Indian, the Persian, etc. This is how you could create a model and download textures offline. They're usually 4K, which are too big, but that's okay. We'll talk about that later. And using those textures create something new. So we're going to be doing that. So let's jump right in. The first thing we're going to do, and we are starting from scratch, and there are the timer, they're, what are they called? I don't know if they're called bookmarks or anyway, if you look at the video, it's marked the different sections. So if you already, we're going to be creating the mod now. If you already know how to create a mod folder, you can skip ahead, but we're going to go ahead and create the mod. So I've opened up CK3 in Steam, and I'm going to go to all installed mods, upload mod, create mod. And this is going to be our, we'll call it Castle demo, and 1.0, and this is going to be inside the Castle demo, and it's going to be graphics. All right, we create the mod. It's created. That's excellent. The first thing we're going to do from here is we're going to go back to playsets, and you need to make sure that you have a test playset. So let's delete this, and we've created that mod, and let's go ahead and add it. And I would go ahead and find this mod called Better Camera Zoom. Since we're doing graphics, you can zoom in a bit. So I add it, and I have Castle Demo. Castle Demo is empty. So let's go ahead and go to Visual Studio. I use Visual Studio. It's free. Visual Studio Code. A lot of people just use Notepad++. I really recommend getting an actual IDE like Visual Studio Code. I also use Cursor, AI-powered Cursor. It does cost a monthly for that, but it is pretty cool if you are interested in something like that. So we have created the demo. So where's it at? Castle demo right here. So we're going to open that, select that folder. And right now it is empty. We can see we just have the Castle demo. That's fine. So at this point, we need to create our structure. So we're going to go new folder, common. So I right clicked new folder or just click the new folder. We also need localization, Z. And then we need, not inside localization, but inside the main, we need GFX. Inside GFX, we need models. Inside models, we need buildings. And then inside buildings, we need special. And then we need the name of our special building. So we're going to call this Baby Castle. All right. So now that we have the Baby Castle, we are going to copy in the structure of an existing building. This is what I always do. I think that you could definitely get to the point where you could build all this from scratch. It's just not something that I want to put brain power to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in to my mod folder, right, to the Castle demo, and I'm going to go into graphics, models, buildings, special building, Baby Castle. And then I'm also going to go into the main game folders, right? And I'm going to go into graphics, same thing, graphics, models, buildings, special, and I am using the Despot's palettes for this. This doesn't really matter, but this is just what I've practiced with. So I'm not going to grab the unique. We're not going to be doing ambient occlusion. You can learn more about ambient occlusion, but we're not going to be using it. So let's do copy and paste. And now that we have that, we are going to rename the files. So we're going to rename to baby castle. And then we're going to rename the mesh baby castle. At this point, we now have baby castle assets. We just click on it and let's rename this baby castle. So we're going to have to do some renaming. So the name, the file, the entity, so up to entity, and then mesh. But make sure you leave entity and mesh, okay? And then on all of these, we're going to delete these. We don't need these. These are multi-mesh settings. If you don't know what a mesh setting is, that's okay. We'll get to that. But for now, let's just delete these out. And we're going to be keeping Despot's Palace. We will duplicate this in a second, but let's just wait and see what that is later. So for now, let's go ahead and do baby castle shape, and we'll leave the shape and we'll see why. So let's go ahead and save that. And now we are going to open Blender. So I am following the script, so that I may be going back a little bit. I'm not going to really do editing, so maybe a couple pauses, but that's okay. So in Blender, make sure you are using an older version. I use 3.3.2. Latest versions don't really work well with the add-on, and the add-on I'm talking about is if we go to View Sidebar, which you'll need to do this, and then PDX Blender Tools. I will include the PDX Blender Tools download location in the description, but you will need to go and download this. So let's go ahead and highlight all of these and hit X to get rid of them. We're going to go to Load Castle. We're going to go into our special buildings, and right, I was doing Despot's Palace. So, oh, I've already copied this. I don't need to do that. I need to open Baby Castle. Sorry. So in our folder structure, make sure we're in the right place. So mods, castle demo, graphics, models, buildings, special, baby castle, baby castle. All right. So it loads a bunch of stuff here. That is okay. Let's go ahead and at the top right, click into viewport shading. We see it's pink. Let's go to shading. Let's re-import our meshes. So I'm going to click on that Despot's Palace. We can actually delete the ground, the monastery grounds, and just keep the palace, and go to diffuse, Mediterranean, diffuse, Mediterranean properties, right? It says diffuse, it says properties at the top. That's why I'm picking those, diffuse, properties. Go down to the normal, pick normal. All right. We also then need to go to our object data, to the UV maps, and make sure we're on map 2. It's still black. That's because of the alpha. So change the alpha on the diffuse from straight to none, and voila, we have what we need. That's great. At this point, we are going to separate our walls from our windows, everything that's like wood, window, and you'll see why, but let's just do this for now. So I'm going to hit edit. I'm going to switch to the select mode. I'm going to make sure X-ray is off, and I'm just going to basically grab, we can go from the top, and we need to grab everything that's basically red, right? So all of this stuff. So take just a second. This will be actually one of the more tedious things we have to do, but I do want this to look somewhat good when we get done. It's not going to be something we spend the absolute most amount of time on, but I don't want it to look bad. All right, so we'll grab the windows. This is where my need to for perfection can slow us down. right? I spend way too much time selecting things that probably don't. See, I almost selected the wrong thing. I think that because this is demonstration purposes, I'm gonna stop in just a second, and we're gonna say that's good enough. But I do want to show that this would be a step that you would need to take if you are going to make this look nice for in game, right? Some of these things, especially when you're reusing elements, can get tedious. I reuse models a lot because I don't think it is that important in a game like CK3 for everything to be custom. Because one, you want continuity, so you want models to look very similar, so you need to be reusing those things that are culturally based, and graphics are culturally based. So if you are building things for a culture and your everything you're creating is custom, it's not going to look like the rest of the culture. So I do think that using base game stuff is actually kind of important. Okay, so I've selected all of that. Now I'm going to go to mesh and separate and selection. All right. Now, if I go back to object, I have two different, uh, what are called, I guess is what they're called, object properties. And we now need to get into renaming. So this main one, if I click like the brick, is the Despot's Palace. This we want to rename. So if I go back here, we have baby castle shape. And here I have Despot's Palace shape. We are going to replace this, the last one, the material, the little ball, all the way after PDX mat underscore. That's very important. You have to leave PDX mat underscore. And then this level, which is the object data properties, also has to be named the same. This is very important. These two have to be, whatever's after the PDX mat underscore has to be named the same here. The top doesn't have to be named the same. I mean, for organization purposes, you don't want to confuse yourself, but they don't have to be. All right. At this point, we do have castle shape, and then we could have a new material. This is where, okay, so I have this castle shape, and then I have this castle. These are the same shape, right? Because I have castle shape. I don't want castle shape on this one. I just want this to be Mediterranean. But all I actually did was was rename. So I'm gonna switch this to ground shape just because it's a different one in the list. And then rename it to roof, right? So I'm gonna rename this to roof shape, and then roof shape, and then roof. Make sure this is also on UV map 2, which it is. Go to shading, and let's pull back in that Mediterranean diffuse, Mediterranean properties, and Mediterranean normal. If you don't know why I'm doing these things, that's fine. This is just the process you need to do, and it comes in time. This is how I learned, and it's hard for me to explain what everything is because I don't always know. But look, it's the exact same thing we had before. It's just this roof and this baby and the castle are now separate. This is really important because now I'm going to go to the castle, and I'm going to, one sec, I gotta see where I'm at my script. All right, I'm on page 2 where we are moving through this. So now I'm going to click on the castle. I'm going to go to edit. I'm going to go to add. This is important that I click edit first. I'm going to go to add, and I'm going to go to cube. Great. So that cube, we're going to pull over here, and you can see we're still on map 2, which is good. And I'm going to go to Z to the top. I'm going to grab my cube. So go back to object. Sorry, I need to be in edit. Go to edit. Go to my select mode where I select the vertexes, which are these little dots. Go to X-ray and grab it. X-ray allows me to grab all of them at once. If you didn't have X-ray on and I went to grab, you could see it wouldn't actually move it because it's not grabbing all the vertexes. So you got to make sure you grab all of them. And we're going to resize because this is going to be our castle walls. Okay, so, and then I grab it and I can move it. I think that's fine for our walls. And then kind of see how that looks. See, that's too big, so I'm going to slide this in. Okay, that's going to be our walls. So that's great. So I'm going to pull this back out and then go to the y-axis, pull it up, grab the top. This is the top of our walls. We want them high, but not where the second story. These are short walls. No, let's say these are tall walls. Actually, the inside can't see out. They're above the actual castle inside. It's completely protected. All right. So at this point, we go back to object. You can see right now this is being textured. We're not going to worry about that right now. You could see though where this already has the texture applied. So if you weren't doing a custom texture, then, and I'll show this later, you could just use the existing Mediterranean Atlas, which my other video shows. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to go to, we're going to click off on object mode. We're going to go to add mesh, and we're going to add another cube. Okay, there's this cube. We're going to go edit. We're going to make that cube taller, and we're in X-ray. We're going to make it taller than the other cube. Then we're going to go to Z, and we're going to place it inside. And now we decide how thick we want our walls. I want my walls to be this thick. I'm going to pull this down, and I'm going to pull this over. Now we're going to use what's called the Boolean modifier to cut out our walls. I know these aren't perfect. It'd spend more time, but that's okay. So we click back to object. We click on our main model, right? Our outside one. We go over to this little wrench, which is the modifiers. We go to add modifier, Boolean. We pick the cube. We then go to the cube and click the little eye to turn it off. And then you can see the white inside. We don't want that. So we go to fast. All right, that's good. And then we go to apply. All right. So now, if I go to edit and I grab this, oh, see, I'm moving without grabbing everything. All right. And I move it up here, we now have walls around our little, I don't know, palace. So at this point, I also want an entrance to this. So I'm going to go back to object, add, mesh, cylinder, go to the X, hit the move that cylinder over, and then I'm going to go to rotate and pull out a bit to get a good rotate and rotate that up. Edit, X-ray, make this longer. Go back to object. Then I'm going to go to object, edit, face, and shade smooth. So that just makes my cylinder a little bit smoother and not as rough. And I'm going to show you why. So now we take it to move. We move it in. And this is going to cut our entrance. So now if I go to Y, edit, I want to place, I didn't have my X-ray on, so I didn't grab all of them. I want to place the middle, the very middle point, the widest point at the bottom. And then I want to make it bigger. All right, that's fine. And then I want to make it taller. And I think that would be a good entrance. Okay. You can see now, though, it's overlapping. I do not want that. I don't want it to overlap the buildings inside. So I'm going to pull it out some. Go back to object. Click my model. Add the modifier. Boolean cylinder. Turn off the cylinder. Very nice. Go to fast. And go to apply. Now the cylinder and the cube, I can just delete. Excellent. So there is a model. Very nice. We now have walls around our city. And so if I really fast, I'm going to go back to my asset. I'm going to copy paste this baby castle. And instead, I'm going to do this roof shape. So see where it says roof shape. I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to just drop this right here, roof shape. So this says that what this is telling it is it says inside this model, I have the baby castle, which is defined as baby castle. And then I have the roof, which is roof shape. So baby castle shape and roof shape. And this says that both should use the Mediterranean Atlas, which it is currently. That's why it looks the way it does in the in Blender, right? All of this texturing is from the Mediterranean Atlas. We're not going to be changing the roof because we want the roof to have the Mediterranean Atlas and the windows and doors that we selected. The other ones are going to look different, but that's okay. Like I said, we're not trying to be perfect. And then castle shape uses Mediterranean Atlas. Now these are all going to be changed. Okay. So we're going to go in and we are now going to be creating those textures. So this is where it gets fun. So I am going to have to be looking back and forth on my notes, and that's okay. I just want everyone to know that there could be a couple pauses, but it's not going to be bad. All right. So we need to go to our main folder, which is here. We're going to go backwards to models, buildings, holdings, atlas, Western, and all we're going to do is grab the diffuse, the normal, and the properties. Copy those and drop those into your mods folder where I put baby castle, right? Special baby castle. Then I'm going to rename these. So baby castle. So building Western Atlas is going to become baby castle. You see that we just, one of the biggest things that you got to make sure of when working with CK3 like this is that your naming is the same and that you're leaving the right prefixes and suffixes and things. All right, so we have baby castle properties, diffuse, and normal. All right, so we are going to first open diffuse. So we're going to go to GIMP and we're going to open, let's see. Got to find out where we're at. So document, so right click, open with GIMP, right click, open with paint.net. All right, go back to, where's it at? Here. All right, and inside of GIMP, we'll do load DDS. Make sure we don't need mini maps on, and we open it up. These are all 5x12, 512 by 512, right? You could do that by, you could figure that out. One, you could just look in Paint, or you could highlight it in GIMP. So either way, it's 512 by 512. So in GIMP, we need to copy paste over the diffuse. So in your 3D textures that you downloaded, so this is the one that I downloaded, the castle walls, I have inside there, and like I said, there's so many free ones. This is 4K, so it's going to look a little funny on the map because it's so high resolution. You really don't need to use high resolution stuff, and we'll see why when we actually get to game. But for now, this is what we have. So we're going to grab the diffuse. We need to go to paint, open, and open up the diffuse. You can see how big the diffuse is. So we're going to copy and then copy that, go over to the diffuse in GIMP, hit paste. And then we need to go to layer size 512. We need to make this smaller, scale. And now it's the same size and it looks better. And then we go to anchor. right? So when you paste over it GIMP, it creates like a separated layer. Before you anchor it, you need to go to layer, size, make it the same size, 512, anchor it, then go to file, then go to overwrite baby castle diffuse. So now if I was to go back to our into here and I look at the diffuse, it looks like this. So that worked. So we overrode the diffuse. Now I can go back into Blender. I can click on my model, right? I can click on shading. And for this one, now we can swap out because we're not using the Mediterranean anymore. We created our castle demo. Yep, we're in the right one. We've created this diffuse and you can see it does not look good. It's okay. The first thing that this is, again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this trying to make this work. You can see that this copying in and stuff has created a UV map too. We want to delete that. We want to make sure on the roof it also doesn't have any extra UV maps. And we want to make sure that we are on map 2. Okay. At this point, I do want to hit I want to select it. I want to hit edit. I want to hit the face instead of the vertexes. There's no reason for us to have X-ray on. And then click a face and then hit A to select all the faces. And then go to face. And then we're going, or you can just hit U. And we're going to hit unwrap. Now you see that didn't unwrap everything, and that's okay. So a lot of times what you can do instead is just one at a time, unwrap. This is where being really good at Blender comes in clutch, which I am not, which explains some of the problems we're like why this, like other people would do this much faster, much better than I do it. But, you know, this is, you can start to see some weirdness here. That's because of our properties in our normal, but we're not quite worried about that yet. And then all of these are, they were unwrapped for the Mediterranean, but it doesn't really matter. So, and I'm going to show you why. So I hit A again, and then I hit UV editing after I do the unwrapping, and we can see it overlaying. Now, one of the, let's make sure we turn on this third option, the viewport shading. We can see that this is turned sideways, or it's tall, like the brick isn't going the right way. So I just go to rotate, and you can see that it goes off the side. That's the nice thing about how CK3 handles this, is it just basically tiles these textures. So you don't, in a situation like this, it doesn't have to be perfect. And that one's already turned the correct way. So is that one. You can see these are not. So I can just select, and you can select multiple at a time like this, and then just rotate them. Great. And then I can select all of these. And okay. And then I'm just going, they're all selected. Now I'm going to make sure they're selected here. I'm going to go down to the scale, and I'm going to make them really big. And you can see everything's getting smaller, and it looks better. So we don't want it too small because this is such a high texture. I think that looks fine. So then these in here, though, right, don't look great because they are so small. First of all, let's delete this. So I'm going to go to vertex, X-ray. This was because it was like attached to, you know, some ground cover, but we don't need that. So we're going to delete this. This is going to look weird because it's going to be stairs into nowhere. But again, this isn't perfect. We'd fix that if this was going to be a model I was using for something, but it's not. So now I'm just going to kind of go face all, because I want all my faces, and then using the control key, I'm going to deselect these faces. I don't want to resize them. Again, this is just, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know if this is the fastest way to do this in Blender. I am not a Blender expert by any means, but this is the pattern that I follow and it works for me. And really, I'm just trying to help people understand the basics, and then you could go and probably become a lot better. Most of the people who watch my stuff over time get a lot better than I do. So now I'm going to pull this in, and you can see I got to make it pretty big, but it starts to do the stone. And then again, if I was actually doing this for anything I was doing, I would come in here and everywhere the stone is turned up, because in some places up, in some places it's not. I would select all the places it's turned up, right? And I would rotate them. Which again, this is kind of extra stuff that we don't really need to do for this tutorial, but I do want to at least show what that would look like so that it looks pretty, looks better than it does. So we would go to rotate and then just rotate that. And now everything is rotated. All right. And you can already see that looks a lot better. So now I go back to layout and I have my textures applied and we've created the diffuse. I've done some rotation. So things look better. And, we don't have we don't have, what is it, crenellations and decorations, which again, you could add, but we do have something that works. So now we need to create, and like I said, you can see these like little black spots. That's because of the normal and the property. So let's go ahead and create those. And those are a little bit more complicated than just copy pasting, but they're not bad. So we're going to go back to GIMP. We're going to hit open and we're going to open our, we're going to start with our normal and just hit OK. There's our normal. Now we're also going to go over to our folder and it should come. So when you download a 3D texture, it should come with a normal. It'll usually come with like a rough, a metallic, a normal, different stuff. You want to open your normal. So I'm going to hit open and that is going to open it inside of GIMP. So now, one second, let me check my notes. Okay, so we open the normal and now we go to colors and we go to components and we go to decompose. And we want to make sure that this is RGBA and we click OK. And it opens a second file here that looks a little different, right? Now, all we do here is we go up to the top and we are over here, we click on the green and we hit copy on the green. And then we copy it into the alpha. And we anchor it. Then we go to the red, we copy it and we paste it. So we copy the red and we paste it into the green and anchor it. Okay. Then on the blue, we click on the blue, go ahead and do A and all, delete that. Then go to your bucket tool, black, and make sure it says fill host selection. You're on blue and fill it with black and it should turn black. And that is it. So now we go back to colors, components, and we go to recompose. And now this is turned yellow. So this is what it should look like. So this is good. So now we go A, copy. We go to our baby castle normal that we created. I go ahead and delete this. I don't think you have to, but I do. Control V. Look how big it is. It is so big, right? Because this is a 4K texture. Do not anchor this yet. We got to do just like we did with the diffuse. We have to go to layer, scale, 512, scale that down. Now anchor it. And now file, overwrite. So now if we go back to our folder and we click on our normal, we can see that it's yellow. That's great. Let's go back to Blender, go to our model, go to shading. And now in the normal down here, we are going to baby castle and do the normal. All right, so that applies the normals. We're still in map 2, so all of this is correct. Looks good. And the last one we need is the properties. So the properties is a little bit more difficult, but it's not crazy. So to do the normal, I get my notes. We go back to our folder. Here is, or sorry, our property. Right here. So we go to our properties, which is currently black with these squares, which is why we're seeing squares on our walls. And we go open with, and we go to GIMP. And we go to OK, and it is open now. That's fine. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click on our original. So this yellow one right here, right? The one that this, you need to click on the castle wall slates. This is the one we recomposed, but it is the file that we opened that came with our texture that we downloaded. So we're going to go to File and New, and you can see it's pretty big, and that's okay. And it's going to say, hey, this is really big. That's okay. We're not going to save this. And it's white. So that's okay. The first thing we have to do is right click and hit alpha channel. That's very important. Then we can go to colors, components, decompose. RGBA. All right. These are the rules, and these will be posted for in the description as well. The rules for how, let me find where the rules are. So the way this works is when you get a model is open, sorry, I don't know what I just said. I watch started buzzing, and of course I got distracted. So in the folder that came with your textures, it's going to say roughness, normals. We use the normal. It'll say roughness. It'll say specular, metal, or roughness. And those are important because the way that this works is red is always unused. So red is always going to be filled with black. Green would be, if it comes with a specular, you would copy and paste it onto green. We don't have a specular. We only have a roughness, so we're going to make this black. Blue would be for metal. So this is like if you're doing anything metal. We don't have a metal. The only thing we have is, let me open the right thing here, is this roughness. So I'm going to go to, a lot of people can just drag. I don't know why, but like if I try to drag this in, it says you can't do that. So I actually have to go and open this in paint.net, open the roughness, copy that, come back over and paste it and anchor it. So my alpha has this, the roughness on it, and that's it. So that's all I need. Now I'm going to go back to tools, or sorry, color, component, recompose. And this made this like this sort of thing. It's kind of like see-through. This is what you want. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to click on mine, right? In Baby Castle, delete it, paste. Again, it's going to be huge. We need to go to layer, scale, 12, scale, and anchor, and then overwrite. All right, and now if I go back to my folder and we look at the properties, you saw at first it looked like that, and then I click off and come back, it's black. That's just how it, because of the channels, but it initially was that color, and that's how we know it's good. And then we can go to Blender and we can click on our properties, and we can pick our properties, and there we go. So now we have our properties, we have our castle, and we are our normal, our properties, and our diffuse, and it looks pretty good, right? I mean, that's not bad for just a quick demo video. Now we're going to try to save this. We are going to get an error, but that's okay. You can see I haven't done some details like these inner parts here, texturing, stuff like that, but that's okay for what we're doing. I'm going to hit save. We need to make sure that we are in our folder. So castle demo, graphics, models, building, special, baby castle mesh, and export. We're going to get an error. Tangent space can only be computed for twice aborting. Basically, it's telling us that not all of our faces are triangles. And I'll show you what that means. If I go to edit and I click this face, look at it. That's not a triangle. You can see all the ones that came from the game are triangles. CK3 requires everything to be a triangle. So what I'm going to do is with edit on, I'm going to hit A and I'm going to hit select all. And I'm going to go to select all by trait, faces by sides, expand this, go down to 3 and say greater than 3. Actually, I don't want to select. Okay. Click it, edit, don't select a face, go to select, all trace faces by sides, 3 and greater than, and it'll select. So you see these aren't selected because they are triangulated and these aren't triangulated. So then I go to face, triangulate faces. That is it. That's all we got to do. Go to object. Whenever you save, make sure you're an object. It is not like it if you're in edit. Okay, so we're going to save again, and that saved fine. So we are good to go. We now have a working model. That's very exciting. One of the things that we do need is a placeholder ambient occlusion for these models. You can find one in the description as well. It's just a blank ambient occlusion, and I'm going to drop that in the folder and apply it. Okay, it's called Building XAO Placeholder. So again, I will in the description. There will be a link to download this, and you do so. Ambient occlusion is additional shadows, and you do want ambient occlusion. And I will also include a link to a very good YouTube tutorial on how to create ambient occlusion. We just don't need to do it for this, and not all models need ambient occlusion all the time. So because this is the name of the ambient occlusion, let's go back. And we just need to replace this with the name of our ambient occlusion file. Okay. Hit save. Now we get to do the fun thing of creating a building, okay? So creating a building is really easy and really fun. So we're going to go into our common folder and we're going to add new, and we're going to add buildings. And then inside the buildings folder, we are going to add the buildings file. So the easiest way to do this is to go to your main CK3 folder and go to common, right? Go to buildings, and then just grab your special buildings. Okay. And then inside your common folder here, buildings, paste that in. Okay. And then, oh, I'm actually closing things. And then rename this. You have to rename it, and just rename it your mod. So baby castle special buildings. All right. And then you'll want to delete all this out, but you want something as your template if this is the first time you're ever doing it. So I'm going to use Sicilian Gates. So I'm just going to go to Sicilian Gates, delete everything ahead of it. And then I'm going to say, this is my baby castle. I'm going to rename this baby castle. And then this is our mesh. So if I go over to the baby castle and at the very bottom is the mesh, I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to drop this in right here. And that is it. That is that's the model, right? It's going to be a copy of the other one as far as the stats go. It's going to use the icon for the Sicilian Gates. So if you wanted, you could create your own icon. If you wanted, or use one of the other icons from one of the other special buildings, which is generally what people do. But yeah, you have your model. Now you do still need, you have your special building, so that's good. And Now we need to add what's called localization. So we need to go to our localization file. We need to hit new folder, and we're just going to do English. When you do this, if you look in the main folder, the main game folder, and I go to like game and I go into localization, you can see there's English, French, German, Korean, Polish, Russian, Chinese simple, and Spanish. These are all the languages they support, right? You would want all of these, not Gemini, you would want all these languages in there. And even if you're not going to translate, put your English localization in there. So at least it's not just like a string of where it says like, you know, baby castle description, baby castle name. But you know, for this, we're just going to do English. So I have English, and then inside English, I'm going to go down and I'm going to grab the buildings file. Okay, buildings I English. I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to click on English, paste. I need to rename this again, right? So I'm just going to pin to the beginning. If you rename this, it's okay if you rename it. Do not get rid of the I and do not get rid of the I English. It's whatever your name is has to be followed by underscore I English and then underscore I Spanish, whatever. Or sorry, an L, not an I. L, because this means localization. So L English, L Spanish. So just when you're copy pasting these or creating new ones, just make sure it's like this. It doesn't matter which like in here you use, but we did Sicilian, not Sicilian. Um, what what did we call it? I just went completely blank. Cilician. There we go. Cilician gates. So let's go here and search for Cilician gates right here. And I'm going to need the building and the building type. So I'm just going to go control. Do not delete the L English at the top. This has to stay in. Delete everything else. And then everything below it is fine. I'll delete all that. And then I'm just going to rename this My First Castle isn't, let's see, My First Castle is amazing as the description. And then I need to replace Cilician Gates with Baby Castle because this is, so this part here is the name, is just this name. So I could copy paste that and then I could come in here and everywhere where it says Cilician Gates. So that means that I would not want to delete building, building type, or the underscore desks. Those are important. And then these are references. So this is saying for the building type, make it the same as the building name. These are things you can play around with. This is for if you have like multiple levels. So like level 1, 2, 3, 4, you could say level 1 is the same name as the building, but level 2 is something different. Level 3 is something different. Okay, I'm going to save that. And that's it. So now we have a working mod with a special building. You would at this point want to, if you're doing like total conversion, you'd want to put this in the history files most likely. If you are doing this as a standalone, like how I do Cities of Wonder, then you want to do it in like an on action or an event or something to trigger the building of these buildings. Probably not the history files because that's going to create compatibility issues. But, you know, that's more specific to what you're doing. So it's outside the scope of this tutorial. But we should be okay. We're going to go test and see how everything works. So we're going to go to our demo. And we're going to go to game settings. And we're going to do the launch debug mode so that we can see everything. And we're going to see if it works. I really hope it does. All right, so everything's loading up. Should just take a second. I don't have the fastest PC in the world, but it's not too bad. Of course, I have Blender open, and I have GIMP open, and I have OBS open, and that's making it go a little bit slower. All right, new game. We're gonna just pick Duke Robert. All right, we're in debug mode. So this is his capital of Trani. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on insta-build, give myself some gold. And I'm going to, so this is the code that would be in like an on action or an event, which is basically saying, right, in this title, be Trani, you can see that's the name, right, of the holding. So btrani.title province, add special building slot. You have to add a special building slot. We can add a special building, baby castle. So I'm going to hit enter. And then if we go back to that, there it is. My first castle. My first castle is amazing. So it worked. So we're going to hit construction and we're going to open, and it did not build. So we got the walls, but we didn't get the castle. So let's figure out why. Or we got the building, but we didn't get the castle. So let's figure out why. So this is why it didn't work. So if we go back to our asset and we look, this is saying it should have building Mediterranean Atlas diffuse, but that is not correct. It should, in fact, have the ones we created here: baby castle diffuse, baby castle normal, and baby castle properties. So I need to go baby castle diffuse, baby castle diffuse, normal, and properties. Save that, and let's relaunch. Okay, so we're back. So one of the things I noticed is, I don't know why it was doing this. This is kind of what I was saying. I'm not an expert on this stuff by any means. So for some reason, this was looking weird with having the map 1 and 2. So I deleted the texture was on map 2. So I deleted map 1 and then rename map 2 to map 1. This one still has a map 2 with the ambient occlusion. So I also went ahead and deleted ambient. Well, this one still has ambient occlusion on it, but we can delete that. And yeah, I don't know, but I did change the baby castle stuff. And sometimes you just got to play around with this. I don't know why things work the way. I'm sure someone could tell me, and that would be great. But I don't know. So let's look really fast at how this looks, and we will be done, because that'll be a completely working model. So we go back here and we have nothing, and then I go add it and then give myself gold. I already had insta build's already on, so leave insta building on, construct, and there we go. You can see it's kind of shiny. Again, it's a very high kind of models. A lot of times they do that at certain angles, but I mean, it doesn't look bad, right? Like, the texture isn't the greatest texture in the world to use. Ambient occlusion probably needs to be applied. But other than that, like, I mean, it's not horrible. It just shows how quickly you can kind of build these things and add these textures. Oh, I had stuff turned on. Yeah, and I mean, we have a model in the game. It would need tweaking. It would need to be improved on, etc. But as far as this showing how this works, this is how this works. So, yeah, I mean, if you learn something, or if you know that I did something wrong, please post it, or tips in the conversation, in the discussion, so that we can keep this going. And, if there's a better way to do things that I don't know about, then maybe I will create another model in the future. But you can see this looks pretty good. So, yeah, that is it. And I look forward to seeing your models. Thanks for watching.